Good morning, everybody. That was hearty. Usually, I get. So if that introduction confused you a little bit, I am the CEO of and founder of S-5, but I kind of wear two hats, and in another life, I'm also an insultant. And so I was in the contracting industry for quite a number of years, and I got sort of well known because I participated in a lot of industry groups and trade associations and that sort of thing, and I did some writing too, some technical writing, and so people got familiar with my name, and and eventually. People started calling me and offering to pay me money for advice. And so I thought, this is pretty cool. Why work? And so I actually retired from the construction business in 1990 and went into full-time insulting. So I was then an official insultant and sold advice to people. And part of what I did in that regard was to develop training materials for manufacturing companies, how to install roofs and so on, writing curriculum and that sort of thing. And I did some technology transfer work and so on like that. And I did a lot of forensic work, which means, when a roof fails and people start suing each other and they need to hire experts, I was an expert witness in many cases, and I keep saying I still do that. And it helps me to kind of keep my feet in the trenches and understand, problems that are going on out there in the real world. And so that's my consultant cap. But in the meanwhile, I also started innovating. And one thing that I saw a real need for in the industry was that there was no good way to attach things to metal roofs. And so that's what wound up birthing S-5, the very first clamp that ever existed. The first S-5 clamp was carved out of a little wooden block and installed on my garage on a standing seam roof, and then things went on from there. So I'm going to open just by telling you a little bit about S-5. Everybody likes to talk about themselves, and certainly we're very proud of our company. And so I'd like to give you a little background and introduction to the S-5 company. And then we're going to move into the science and science fiction of snow retention. I call it the science and science fiction because there are a lot of misconceptions out there in the marketplace about just what does snow do on a roof and how does it act and how does ice play into that and so on. So I hope you'll enjoy that, and I hope you'll learn something from it. And we're a small enough group that please feel free to interrupt me if you like. If you have a question pops up and you want to throw it out there, I may tell you, hang on, we're going to cover that, or I may take your question right then and there. So don't be bashful about that. Lest I forget, I want to extend a personal thanks to A.B. Martin for sponsoring this event. A.B. Martin has been on board with S-5 now for, I think, 5 or 6 years. Merle, do you remember exactly?
I've been there about 5 years before my time.
So maybe, yeah, okay. Time flies when we're having fun. It's been a while, and A.B. Martin is one of our most valued customers and one of the largest S-5 distributors in the country. So the reason that any company achieves that level of success is that they're doing it the right way. And that's the S-5 little slogan. You'll see that on a lot of our literature, the right way. And what does that mean for an S-5 distributor? It means that their price and their service is what it should be. And that's why they've achieved the level of success that they have. So hats off to A.B. Martin, and thank you guys sincerely for sponsoring this event. We appreciate the opportunity, and we're glad that you did it. So who is S-5 or what is S-5? S-5 is the #1 attachment solution source for metal roofing, and meaning that it's the best way, the right way, if you will, to attach things to metal rooftops without doing the roof any harm. And we have our bragging rights now. We've estimated that we have something over 1.6 million roofs. Our products have been used on over 1.6 million roofs worldwide. So what else is S-5? Well, S-5 is a product technology. It was invented to answer this basic question: how do you attach almost anything to a standing seam roof without piercing the panel, without violating the integrity of the roof or making holes? And the answer was in a pretty simple device that straddles the seam of the roof and tightens down onto the roof using 2 round point set screws. We'll talk a little bit more about that set screw technology. What else is S-5? S-5 has become a product family. Originally, there was just one clamp model, and now we have something on the order of 90 different SKUs, different individual products involved in this product family. We have a solution for almost any seam profile. So whether it's a snap seam, a bulb seam, a double folded seam, a single folded seam, there are quite a variety of profiles out there in the marketplace. And over time, by the way, this is not all of them, it's just kind of a sampling, but we've developed clamps that are seam specific for almost any profile, not only in the US marketplace, but globally, because when you go to Germany, you're gonna see slightly different seams and metal roof styles than are used here. When you go to Australia, the same thing again. When you go to South Africa, the same thing again, and we sell into all those markets. And over time, we had customers come to us and say, you guys make super solutions for standing seam roof. But what about face attached roofs? What about screw down type roofs? Why don't you come up with a product for screw down roofs? And so we also expanded our business into that realm. And some of the first offerings we had, you may be familiar with these parts, are the Versa Bracket 67 and the Versa Bracket 47. And then later we developed a core bracket. And following that, we developed rib bracket. And following that, we developed a number of other products to attach various things to those roof profiles. There's the rib bracket that goes on a trapezoidal roof. This product is used mostly for other attachments besides snow retention because it's just attaching to the skin itself. What else is S-5? Well, S-5 is extensive testing. All our S-5 clamps are extensively tested in independent 82LA accredited laboratories for their holding strength. And why is that important? Well, it enables the engineering of an S-5 attachment for almost any application. So as long as you know the load that's being introduced into the S-5 clamp, then you know the S-5 clamp or bracket's ability to withstand that load. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but this is a shot from the laboratory that we've used from the very beginning. It's called Microbac Laboratories. It used to be Hauser Laboratories, located in Boulder, Colorado, and it's a very well-respected independent third-party lab. So we're not doing our own testing and trying to cheat the results or anything. We have an independent lab do that, and then we publish the results of all those lab tests. And what they show is that the S-5 attachment has unbelievable holding strength. This is an assembly. You see, we test in 2 different load directions. In the first case, we pull a clamp in a direction parallel to the roof seam that would simulate the forces of snow on that device. And in another application, we have a core market in the photovoltaic, in the solar industry. And they're concerned with wind trying to lift the solar modules off the roof. So we also test in that load direction. So we do all our testing in those two load directions, and we publish the results right on our website. And it's very seam specific. So that clamp has a different holding strength depending on which direction you're pulling it, and also what is it being mounted to? Is it steel? Is it aluminum? Is it 24 gauge? Is it 22 gauge? Is it 032? Is it 040? All those holding strengths are very seam specific and material specific. Here you see it being tested. This is the smallest clamp we make, by the way. It's called the S-5E Mini. It's only about an inch cubed or so. And you can see the holding strength here on a Butler MR24 standing seam roof. Over a ton of holding strength for a little clamp that costs $3 or $4 in quantity. And so one of the strengths of S-5 technology is the strength of the part on a seam. Pretty amazing. We also test competitors' products. In fact, we probably test competitors' products more than they do. And here you can see side-by-side testing, the S-5 on top and a competitive product on the bottom. And you see the comparison in these two numbers right here. This was a parallel load test. This clamp took 2,910 pounds to failure, and the competitive part took 735. So although those two components cost about the same money, the S-5 part has 4 times the holding strength of the competitive part. Here you see another one now on a different seam, and the same sort of thing, 3.4 times the holding strength. Here you see one with a BMO clamp, 31 times. If you look at these figures, on the top there is the holding strength of the S-5. On the bottom, 90 pounds compared to almost 3,000, 31 times the holding strength. And those parts cost about the same money in dollars. So you're actually buying 31 times the performance for the same money. Because I have a contractor background, one of my pet peeves was product manufacturers developing things that were almost impossible to install. So along with the S-5 attachment technology, I wanted to be sure that it was something that could be easily installed, and that meant that it had to utilize tools that are common to the trade. A screw gun. At that time, screw guns were mostly corded. This goes back to about 1992 when I developed and patented the first S-5 part. So it installs easily. S-5 is also a problem solver. Most of you guys have been around roofs. You know the way that people attach things to roofs. There's a little series here of right way, wrong way kind of slides, but here you see an HVAC unit mounted to a roof using wood dunnage there underneath the unit. And that leads to early corrosion of the roof because it traps moisture. And here you see a better way with S-5, where you have free drainage, no trap moisture, no holes, no corrosion, and no warranty violations. Same sort of thing here. And this has become a rather common practice. It's kind of changed the way the whole industry mounts things on metal roofs. Some of the ways that people mount satellite dishes and communications equipment. And here you see an S-5 mounting of a satellite dish. And in many cases, in fact, in most cases, not only is it a more prudent way to attach something to a metal roof, it's also less expensive. When you look at the money that someone spent to do this, as opposed to this, it's not only a better way, it's also more permanent, it's more durable, and it's also less expensive. So this is the real value, I think, of the S-5 brand, is not that it's a fancy product that costs a fortune to use. It actually saves money over doing it the wrong way. Wire management, any round shapes, conduits, and those sort of things that get attached to metal roofs. Here you see an example situation where it's all done with S-5. You got a little piece of unistrut there. We since then have also come out with our own version of a unistrut. We call it unistrut on steroids because it's much more versatile, but all attached with S-5. And as I mentioned a moment ago, one of the niche markets that actually found us was the solar market, because obviously solar panels, photovoltaic and solar thermal, both are attached to many rooftops, and they needed a good way to do it. And so that market found us, and we keep breaking our records. This slide was one that was taken clear back in the late 90s or early 2000s. It was at the time the largest solar power generation system in North America. This was the Rodney Strong Vineyard in California. Since that time, we've broken that record many times. We're still attached the largest solar systems in the United States, but this at the time, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, was the largest. It was about 1 megawatt. And then we broke that record with a 2.4 megawatt job in Woodbridge, New Jersey on a FedEx facility. Then we broke it again with a 5.2 megawatt job on the Sky Harbor Airport, the municipal airport in Phoenix, Arizona. And we just broke it again with this facility. Does anyone recognize this? This is Apple's new world headquarters in Cupertino, California. And on that project, there's a 7.2 megawatt solar array, which will be the largest in the world. There's also 6 miles or more of service walkways on this rooftop, more than 2 miles of edge copings around the perimeter of that big circle there to hide the edge detail of the roof, and the largest fall protection system in the world. And of course, S-5 is anchoring all those things to that roof. So S-5 is not just a snow guard company, it's an ancillary attachment company to attach almost anything to metal roofs. S-5 is quality people. You were introduced to Sean a while ago. You'll see him again. It's a family business. Both my sons work for the company. My daughter works for a related company. And so it's a family business, but it's also backed up by lots of people behind the scenes. S-5 today employs just over 50 people. And so there are a lot of faces. We don't have time to introduce them all, but just know that there are a lot of good quality people, and most of those people have worked for our company for quite a number of years. This is a sampling of some of the people at our manufacturing facility. By the way, our corporate offices and administrative offices are in Colorado, and the family is all Colorado natives, but the production facility is in North Texas, near Wichita Falls. And we'll show you a few more slides about that coming up. What else is S-5? Well, it's a culture of innovation. Everybody likes to be innovators. These are the three core innovators at S-5, but there are others and support staff that support the three of us with new ideas. But we're not just inventors, we're innovators. We innovate everything that we do, the way that we run our business, the way that we run our office, the way that we run our manufacturing plant. None of those things have any patents associated with them, but we're very innovative in everything we do. That means that we're always looking for a better way to do something. And when we find one, we try it, we employ it, we refine it, and then we do it. But one of the measures of innovation is certainly patents. And in the first 19 years of business, we were issued more than 25 patents. We've been issued 11 patents in the last 2 years. So we are a continuing innovation company. We filed 14 new patent applications within the last 44 months. And we have 6 other patents pending and more filings all the time. We file for new patents every year as we innovate new things. We introduced 18 new products at MetalCon a year ago, October. So we keep expanding our product line. S-5 is endorsed by industry leaders. So not only do we brag about how great we are and what nifty products we have, but others in the industry recognize that too and have, in many cases, endorsed us. You probably don't recognize this guy, but you probably are familiar with the trade name Galvalume. Yes? No? This is the guy who invented Galvalume. His name is Ange Brazillo. At the time, he was an engineer working for Bethlehem Steel. And what Ange had to say over here in this little quote, you probably can't read it from the back of the room, but it says, S-5 is the greatest thing to happen to metal roofing since Galvalume. And so we hold that compliment from the inventor of Galvalume in rather high esteem. You may not recognize this guy, but he's a vice president of the largest panel, the largest metal roof manufacturing company in the world. That company is NCI, and some of you probably know that name, or the name MBCI, which is now owned by NCI. And he says here, after almost 40 years in business at MBCI, we know the difference between impersonators and the real deal. This guy's name is Kenny Buckinger. One of the largest coil suppliers to the portable roll forming industry is Englert, and this is the Englert team. And Englert is saying, at Englert, it's all about reliability, durability, and design. That's why S-5 is our only choice for attaching anything to our roofs. And by the way, in addition to this, we have a very long list. S-5 products are endorsed by virtually every major roof manufacturer, not only in America, but in Canada and in other places like Europe and Australasia and so on. Oh, here we go. I was getting ahead of myself. S-5 is recommended by roof manufacturers. So one of the major things for me was always to take S-5 technology to the OEMs, the guys who manufacture roofs, and get their approvals and their endorsements and let them know that our products are not going to harm their roofs. And that's been a lengthy process over the last 20-some years. By the way, we're in our 24th year of business this year. And so we've acquired all these endorsements, and this is not all of them, but it's many of them. S-5 is recognized globally. We started getting calls. People came to conventions and trade shows and saw our goods, and they were from Africa or India or the UK or wherever. And so we started expanding globally. And today we're represented on every continent on the globe, and in something on the order of 25 or 30 different countries around the world. S-5 is a solid growth company. We've had good double-digit growth almost every year since the inception of the company back in 1992. And we're also a completely debt-free company. I had some hard-earned lessons about debt going back to my contracting days, and I've not been in debt since 1988. And S-5 was birthed a debt-free company and has remained a debt-free company throughout its history. And personally, I've been debt-free since 1988 and won't ever try that again. S-5 is certified and approved. What does that mean? Well, this guy, aside from riding bulls in college, this is my youngest son, Dustin. When he got out of college and had to get a real job, he came to work for the family business, and he now heads our technical and R&D department. And he has obtained certifications on our product from many certification agencies. You probably recognize the UL label. Intertech is another one, Factory Mutual, the Center for Excellence in Roofing, the PV Task Force, California State Architect, and so on. So the DIBT is a German approval agency. But we not only need approvals from different code authorities and quality agencies in the US, but also because we're sold globally, also other foreign countries. S-5 is quality manufacturing. In 2012, we purchased a 42,000 square foot facility in Wichita Falls, Texas, and we consolidated all our manufacturing within that facility. That's how it looked in 2013. That's the same area today. This photograph is only a few weeks old. We have a lot going on in that plant. We're still not at full capacity for the space that we have, so we still have some room to grow within that facility. This is one of our machining centers. It's one of 4. That's our newest CNC machine. And those machines typically, they've worked as much as 24/7, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Right now we're working 3 shifts on the machining center. That's about a $250,000 CNC saw that cuts the extrusion to length. So most of our goods are made from raw extrusion to a specific shape, and then that comes in a bar to our shop, and that CNC saw will automatically cut each piece to length, and then it goes on to tumbling and machining and some other manufacturing operations. But this particular saw will cut 3,000 S5Us per hour. So it's by using state-of-the-art equipment like this that operates at high speeds that we're able to keep our production costs very competitive. Here you see color guard. This is our color guard production line. The saw that you just saw is right up here at the top of the screen. The color guard will be cut and trimmed to length in that saw. It'll come down a conveyor. It'll go on to automatic deburring. The wheels that you see here deburr, take all the sharp edges off the ends of the color guard, and then it slides down to here to the packaging line, which these 2 guys are packaging color guard, and then it'll shoot out and be palletized right there, all in one rather continuous operation. Here you see an extrusion storage area, and here are some finished goods that are ready to ship. We manufacture to fill orders, so we don't stock things on the shelf. We actually manufacture to fill specific orders. So A.B. Martin would send us an order for 20,000 of this or that, and then we would process that order. That's the east wing of the facility. And by the way, just so you know, we didn't clean up these areas to take these photographs. You can go into this facility at any time, any day of the week, and almost eat off the floor. So the photographs that you're seeing were not staged, they're typical photographs. This is an area that is kind of clean and new and pristine because we are setting it up now as a training room. So for the kinds of things that we're doing here today, we'll be able to do in the plant with multiple roof mock-ups and be able to do some training and education about our products right there at the plant. That's the employee break room. And a new program that we've just initiated in 2016 is what we call the Zero Defects program. We don't make too many mistakes, but occasionally we do, and mistakes are costly. And if we misfabricate a part and we get a call from a customer, we don't like that. You know, it's embarrassing that we drilled something wrong or we forgot to tap some holes or whatever it may be. We have that happen very seldom, but we're determined to absolutely never let a bad part or a misfabricated part get out the door. And so we've initiated the Zero Defect program. These are banners that are hanging within our plant so that everyone can see them, and it's a rather comprehensive program. And beginning second quarter this year, in a month or so, That plant will be ISO 9001 certified. And actually, I don't know if you're familiar with that process, but it's a big thing in manufacturing to have ISO certification. When the ISO examiners came in and interviewed us and looked over our whole operation and all our documentation and all that sort of stuff, they said, this one's going to be a breeze. That we can get you certified in a most plants, it takes 2 or 3 years from the time they apply for ISO certification to the time they actually get it. In our case, the examiner said, couple of months and you guys are there because you're already doing most of the things that we require for certification.